Do you know that the Supreme Court of India has intervened to ensure justice and reparation for the people of Manipur? Do you know also that the state has been paralyzed by violence between peoples, Meiteis and the Kuki-Zo community since May 3rd? Sophisticated arms are being used after being looted. Lawyers who appear for the other side face threat and intimidation. 4 months down, the state government stands accused of incompetence and breakdown of constitutional machinery. Give us a status report on arms looted and missing, Supreme Court told the Manipur government on September 6th. Failures of both the state government and the union government have come up for sharp scrutiny by the apex court. What stood in the way of police registering an FIR immediately on May 4th? The court asked on July 31st. This question related to the ghastly parading of Kuki women naked by a mob of men, allegedly Meitei, on May 4th. The video of this ghastly incident surfaced only on July 19th, and the Supreme Court took cognizance of the affairs in Manipur the next day. On July 31st, hearing a spate of petitions filed in relation to the violence for the first time, the Supreme Court had used strong words with the failure of the government, especially the tardy pace of investigation by the Manipur State Police. Petitions had raised key issues: police inaction, complicity with the perpetrators, need for an independent probe, and unprecedented magnitude of violence against women. Crucial questions around the statements of survivors of rape and sexual violence and the need to ensure their protection. Also saying that the steps were necessary to quote-unquote restore a sense of faith in the rule of law and build a sense of confidence, the Supreme Court gave many directions. A committee of 3 former women High Court judges was formed to look at diverse aspects which are humanitarian in nature: relief, remedial measures, rehabilitation measures, restoration of homes and places of worship. Let's not forget that hundreds of churches have also been destroyed in Manipur. Second direction: 1 retired officer from the Maharashtra cadre was appointed to oversee the CBI investigation of the 11 FIRs related to sexual violence. This officer, Dattatray Patshalikar, will report directly back to the court. The third direction: inclusion of at least 1 inspector from other state police forces into the 42 SITs formed to look into the criminal cases not transferred to CBI. This is to ensure non-partisan investigations. Who is the committee? 3 retired women who were judges at high courts, headed by former J&K High Court Chief Justice Geeta Mittal, Justices Shalini Phansalkar Joshi and Asha Menon, part of the committee. This committee has submitted 3 reports to date. In its first report, the Supreme Court appointed committee has suggested that the reconstruction of thousands of essential documents lost or destroyed in the gunfire, arson and violence, which has rocked Manipur since May 3rd, is the first step that needs to be taken to nurse the state back to health. Aadhaar cards, other documents, etc. should be immediately made available by both the state and central government for all survivors to ensure less misery for the people, and a digital website should be used by the union and state governments for this. The second report has pointed out to the inadequacy of the compensation scheme for survivors and suggested drastic improvements in line with the NALSA scheme that ensures proper legal aid to victims. On August 25th, the Supreme Court issued directions on transfer of sexual violence cases related to Manipur from CBI to Assam for pre-trial steps. The Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court will now designate special courts in Guwahati for the conduct of these trials. All applications that happen during a trial, applications for remand, extension of custody, issuance of warrants, can be made virtually online by the investigation agency before the designated courts in Guwahati. Thereafter, the Supreme Court also asked the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MeitY, to ensure the quick creation of an online platform where people can submit all relevant material and information for the consideration of the committee of 3 women judges. Before July 20th, when the Supreme Court took suo motu cognizance after the ghastly video came out, various citizens groups had approached the Supreme Court during the vacation itself within days of the violence. First on May 6th, a PIL had sought directions from the court to ensure full protection to all citizens of the state. Then again on June 9th, there was a PIL related to the non-stop internet ban in the state that had led to a denial of communication, inform, access to services and welfare schemes. And then again on June 20th, a third vacation bench was approached by the Manipur Tribal Forum Delhi, urging army protection for the Kuki-Zo community in the state. On the first day of reopening after the vacation of the Supreme Court, Chief Justice of India Chandrachud, P.S. Narasimha and Manoj Mishra sought an update on the position of rehabilitation camps, recovery of weapons, law and order generally in Manipur. That's when the Supreme Court scrutiny, in a way, began. Now, the Supreme Court bench is continually monitoring the situation in the state to ensure the distribution of basic supplies such as food, medicines and other essentials to those affected by the Manipur violence. Also, destruction of churches, compensation to victims, dead bodies lying in morgues, missing persons, and the condition of relief camps, all of these is being dealt by the court. When and why is the Supreme Court a court of last resort? Whenever there is a gross violation of fundamental rights and governments fail in their fundamental constitutional obligations, the Supreme Court has and must intervene to restore the faith of the people in the Constitution. In Manipur, this step was much needed to fix accountability, to ensure both justice and a lasting peace. The situation is far from normal even today. Thousands of Manipuris in the state's relief camps are hungry, lack medicines and basic amenities. The battle for justice is likely to be long and arduous. Violence continues in the state, and the state and union governments appear to be turning a blind eye. This week, there was another significant development. On the eve of the G20 meet in New Delhi, nearly 20 UN experts have in a public statement called the government's reports to the Manipur humanitarian crisis inadequate. In a joint statement, these experts have particularly criticized the rank lawlessness in the state, the attacks on women and girls of the Kuki ethnic minority, the parading of naked women, extrajudicial killings, severe beatings of people alive or dead. And this has come as a shock, and the Indian government has reacted sharply, rejecting the comments by international experts. In 4 months plus, in Manipur, the uncontrolled violence has left at least 160 persons dead, over 300 injured, hundreds missing, and over 55,000 displaced without home and food in the state's relief camps. Should not all of us Indians do whatever we can to ensure adequate relief, justice and peace to the people of Manipur?